Pregame.com.
Texans, Patriots. This is NFL Division Weekend. VR, you got a free pick. Last video, you were just
all over,
intimating. You were chomping at the bit. Who do you like and why?
I love Houston in this spot. For the video's sake, I'm going to say grab the plus 9.5. But if you like money, bet the money line as well. I think this is a great spot for Houston. And we're looking at such an inflated number. These two teams already met a couple weeks ago in December. And if you remember, the betting market dropped that line down to 3.5. And before kickoff, when all the money comes in from the bettors, the market moved it back up to around New England -5, -5.5. We're seeing a 4-point adjustment based on a final score that really the data doesn't show the blowout that the final score reflects.
Okay, so one of the things that we talk about often is people remember what they see, and people remember those extreme results.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of guts to say, give me the team that got dominated seemingly on Monday Night Football. You're saying that the scoreboard's level 1, the box score's level 2. Give us the data.
Simply put, Houston, 27 rushes for 100 yards. New England, 33 rushes for 130 yards. Houston, 223 yards passing. New England, 280 yards passing. They were both 2 for 2 in the red zone, 3 for 3 in the red zone. One team punts 5 times, one team punts 7 times. One team has the football 29 minutes, one team has the football 31 minutes. If you look right down the middle, this looks like a 3-point game in the box score. New England jumped on them. They were at home, and it just snowballed. It just got out of control. The best correlation.
When a team's down big early, isn't yardage deceiving because the other team's
playing catch up? I agree. And the one team's not playing as tight as defense. Agreed.
And they're more conservative on offense.
Agreed. You're killing the clock. You want the game to end. Absolutely. I think the best correlation to straight up victory we found is the quarterback rating, both offensive and defensive. How a team's quarterback.
So, Chris, you're nodding on that. So,
yeah,
correct?
No question about it.
Correct. And when you look offensively, out of all the playoff teams, New England's number 7th in quarterback rating offensively. Houston's 8th. When you look at defensive, Houston's 6th and New England's 9th. Advantage Houston. If you would have just followed that theory last week, you'd have hit every game.
All right. So first of all, how do you account for the line in that? Like Denver,
inflated price?
No, any line. You're saying compare the quarterback ratings, offense and defense, and then the better team. But now, let's say
the correlation to straight up victory.
To straight up victory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing with the number.
All right. So I think the devil's advocacy here, and it's really not that because I believe it. This is a very different. You're looking at season numbers.
Correct.
This is a very different Houston team. And before last week, the last 4 games of the regular season, Texans covered by 2 points at home against the Colts. In their 3 other games, they lost against the spread by 25 points, 23 points, and 17 points. You very rarely see in aggregate over a quarter of the season a team fall so short of expectation. The spread is expectation. You win by more than what, you cover the spread, you've exceeded expectation. They've fallen short by 60-plus points over a quarter of the season.
They were already, 11-1?
They were 11-1, yeah.
And they shut the switch because at that point, no one was even close. If you remember how far ahead, Denver didn't start out the season.
So the third seed quit trying.
They weren't in the 3rd seed at that point. They thought they had it. They thought they had it locked up. At that point, they were at the top of the power ratings. New England had a couple losses. Denver started off with a couple losses.
Don't week 17 they show their true colors and win as a 7-point favorite in Indy?
No. With the Pagano coming back and that's
so that must have been your flip the switch. So that must have been your game of the century.
No.
The Colts
last week was with Houston.
But what I'm saying is you're saying that the Pagano factor was so obvious.
No, it wasn't obvious. Not at all. What I'm saying is it wasn't a good situation for them to flip the switch in. They already knew they were in the playoffs. Sure, it's a game you want to win.
Slow down. We got to put that on the blooper reel.
No.
You're saying they weren't motivated in week 7.
No, they weren't motivated to win. You can't
You just said they knew they already made the playoffs.
They knew they made the playoffs by week 9. They knew they made the playoffs.
Fair enough.
By week 12, they're golfing.
All right, so let's slow down and actually answer the question.
Right.
All right. What I'm hearing you say, and I'm not sure I think it's crazy until the last point, is I'm hearing you say that at a certain point in the last quarter of the season, they turned it off.
Correct.
Psychologically, consciously, whatever.
Correct.
And then, though, they got to a point because of that, losing games by 25, 23, 17. They got to a point where they were in a situation, they win, and their best possible outcome for the regular season would occur, which is a #1 seed in home field throughout. They lose, they have to play 6 days later.
Correct.
All right. Now, you're saying in that game, why did they lose? If they're this good team that's as good as the Patriots. You think the Patriots would have possibly lost in that spot?
Absolutely. Why couldn't they? They weren't able to flip the switch on that week. That's just simply put.
So the switch was taken.
It was stuck. It was stuck. It got flipped on last week. We saw it get flipped on last week, and they annihilated Cincinnati. They should have beat that team by 4 touchdowns.
Jump in here, Chris. Jump in.
The only thing I'll say, and I have not bet this game. As a matter of fact, I have some teasers running to the Patriots, but I haven't bet it at 11 and 10.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, I might head back. I'd like to maneuver with teasers, especially in that last game.
Of course.
I think right now, though, and actually it's a weird thing to say, but the Patriots have been a little overrated. They haven't won a Super Bowl in about 7 or 8 years. And you look at Tom Brady, he's lost those last 2 Super Bowls. Not really his fault. But were you to run his career backwards, like his reputation would be, wow, he can't win the big ones. He lost those 2 Super Bowls. Now he's won those first 3 Super Bowls. They won each one of them by 3 points, by the way.
Is that applicable as a 9.5 or 10-point field?
It is applicable because he's lost actually in this round a couple of times. If you remember, and there's a very similar situation to the Jets 2 years ago. They blasted the Jets in the regular season. I forget what the score was.
England's looking at Denver already. They're already looking at Denver.
And the Jets came in a very similar situation. They were a 9-point underdog. They had a defensive-oriented victory week 1 in the playoffs, and I can't remember who they beat, but they went into New England, scored first, and wound up dominating that game. I think that's the key to this game. If Houston scores first in this game, New England's going to be on their heels.
6-2 on the road. They're not afraid to go back to New England.
I don't think they're afraid at all. And the other thing that I would mention here, too, is I think Wade Phillips has a reputation of being a very poor head coach, but he is a fantastic defensive coordinator. And I think they did run into some trouble with some injuries over the course of the second half of the season.
I will agree that I think the Patriots are generically susceptible to an upset or a closer game than you might think. I still have not been close to convinced that Houston is you can't just dismiss a quarter of the season. I've been hearing all year how Houston's played nobody. They're the worst 12-4, 13-3 team. Take a look at that schedule. They played more playoff teams than New England did. Look at New England down the stretch. You know who they played? I'll tell you. Jets, Miami, Jacksonville, Miami. Oh, yeah, and San Fran, which they got dominated by. We're back to and Houston.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We already talked about that Houston game. That was the rest of their schedule. And the only other good team they played, they lost.
No, I think the Patriots are overrated.
I agree.
I don't feel super comfortable betting Houston. We've talked it through. Let's make it official.
Take the Houston Texans over to New England Patriots. Grab the points to be safe, but sprinkle a little something on the money line. Houston's going to be able to beat this team because New England defensively just doesn't have enough to stop Houston. They allow 7.3 yards per pass attempt. They're going to have a field day throwing that football against that New England defense. Foster got it going last week. Take Houston.
That's it, Chris. What's for dinner?
I don't know.
Nor's cuisine?
I had pasta puttanesca last night, so I'm not going to order it tonight. So I got to get something.
So we know that much.
We know that much. I'm not sure what else.
Here's the best bet of the week. You're going to order something for the middle.
Especially with your paying for the dinner. So, yeah.
It's your turn.
It's not my turn.
Absolutely.
It's not my turn.
Nothing for the middle.
The Texans were undefeated last time you paid.
please.
All right, guys, good times. We got the Wednesday crew coming in. They're going to do their videos. You can get all of them at pregame.tv. Talk to you there.